High Output Management by Andrew S. Grove. In High Output Management, Andrew S. Grove delivers an unparalleled guide to mastering the art of leadership, productivity, and operational excellence. As the former CEO of Intel, Grove distills decades of experience into actionable principles that apply across industries and roles. This book focuses on the central idea that management is a discipline rooted in systems, measurement, and the consistent alignment of effort toward meaningful output. Grove challenges you to think differently about your role in any organization, whether you're leading a team, building a company, or managing yourself. He strips away vague platitudes about leadership and instead gives you a clear roadmap for becoming a high-output manager. His lessons are grounded in the practicalities of running a world-class organization and framed through the lens of leverage, how you can maximize the impact of every action you take. Prepare to rethink your assumptions, sharpen your focus, and take charge of creating the systems and practices that enable extraordinary results. Lesson 1. Build scalable systems. Andy Grove emphasizes that your success as a manager hinges on your ability to design and implement scalable systems. He likens management to running a factory, where each step in the process contributes to the final output. Just as inefficiencies in a factory ripple across the production line, flaws in a management system undermine the performance of an entire organization. Grove shares how Intel's manufacturing success stemmed from a disciplined focus on repeatable processes and measurable outcomes. Intel didn't thrive on chance or heroic effort. It succeeded because its systems were designed to deliver consistent results regardless of who operated them. The hallmark of scalable systems is that they work not because of individual brilliance, but because of structural integrity. Grove's approach aligns with the lessons in The Goal by Eliyahu M. Goldratt, a foundational text on systems thinking. Goldratt underscores that every system has a bottleneck, a single constraint that limits its overall performance. Identifying and optimizing this bottleneck is your primary responsibility as a manager. Grove echoes this idea, stressing that improving a system requires focusing on its weakest link rather than chasing superficial metrics or quick fixes. At Intel, this meant constantly evaluating and refining manufacturing processes to ensure they were not only efficient, but also adaptable to changing demands. By addressing bottlenecks systematically, Intel was able to scale without compromising quality. A key principle in building scalable systems is to move away from reliance on heroic individual effort. Inconsistencies arise when success depends on a few exceptional performers. Instead, you must design workflows that deliver consistent outcomes regardless of who executes them. This shift requires defining clear, measurable inputs and outputs for every key activity. When everyone understands what's expected and how their work fits into the larger system, they can contribute effectively without constant oversight. Grove believed that systems should empower people by providing structure and clarity, enabling them to focus on their strengths rather than navigating ambiguity. The importance of scalable systems extends beyond manufacturing. Consider Amazon's rise to dominance. From the beginning, Jeff Bezos focused on building systems that could handle massive growth. Amazon's logistics network, inventory management, and customer service processes are engineered to scale seamlessly. This focus on scalable systems enabled Amazon to transition from an online bookstore to the world's largest e-commerce platform. Its success isn't just a result of innovative products, but of processes designed to deliver consistent value to millions of customers worldwide. Scalable systems also minimize the need for micromanagement. When systems are well designed, they allow people to work autonomously while still aligning with organizational goals. Micromanagement stifles creativity and creates bottlenecks in decision-making. Grove emphasized that the best systems empower teams to make decisions and solve problems independently within a structured framework. This autonomy fosters a sense of ownership and accountability while maintaining alignment with the larger objectives. To build scalable systems, start by analyzing your workflows. Identify where inefficiencies, redundancies, or bottlenecks exist. Break down complex processes into manageable steps and define clear metrics for success. Ensure that your systems are adaptable, able to evolve as circumstances change. A scalable system isn't static. It grows with your organization and remains resilient under pressure. Focus on creating an environment where people can thrive without being bogged down by poorly designed processes. Your ability to build scalable systems defines the long-term success of your organization. It's not about working harder or relying on extraordinary talent. It's about designing workflows that consistently produce great results. By addressing bottlenecks, defining measurable outcomes, and empowering your team, you create a foundation for sustainable growth. Stop relying on individual heroics and start focusing on system excellence. When your systems work, your organization thrives. Lesson 2. Master the art of delegation. Delegation is not about offloading tasks, but about amplifying your impact through others. Andy Grove emphasizes that effective managers act as force multipliers, leveraging the strengths of their team to achieve far more than they could alone. Delegation is a strategic tool, not a shortcut, and it requires intention, trust, and clarity. Grove illustrates this with a vivid example from his time at Intel, where he mentored a junior engineer by entrusting him with ownership of a complex project. This wasn't a mere handoff of work. It was an investment in the engineer's growth and capabilities. By pushing the engineer to take responsibility, Grove not only developed his team members' skills, but also freed himself to focus on strategic priorities that required his expertise. This dual benefit, empowering others while enhancing your own effectiveness, is the essence of true delegation. Grove's approach aligns with the principles outlined in The 1-Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard. Blanchard emphasizes that effective delegation isn't about abandoning tasks, but about aligning individual development with organizational goals. When you delegate properly, you empower team members to grow, take ownership, and contribute at a higher level. Delegation isn't just a means to get things done. It's a way to build future leaders and create a culture of accountability. This requires more than simply assigning tasks. It demands that you clearly define responsibilities, set expectations, and ensure accountability. Successful delegation is rooted in communication and support, providing team members with the tools and guidance they need to succeed while allowing them the autonomy to make decisions and solve problems. Consider the story of Walt Disney and his brother Roy. Walt, the visionary behind Disney's creative empire, trusted Roy to manage the company's finances and operations. By delegating these critical responsibilities, Walt could focus entirely on storytelling and innovation, while Roy ensured the business remained financially stable. Their partnership demonstrates how effective delegation allows individuals to focus on their strengths, driving collective success. Walt and Roy's complementary roles were instrumental in building one of the most enduring brands in history. To master delegation, you must start by assessing where your time is best spent. Ask yourself whether your energy is better directed at executing a task or empowering someone else to handle it. High-leverage tasks, the ones that have the greatest impact on your organization's success, should be your priority. Everything else should be a candidate for delegation. This doesn't mean handing off tasks indiscriminately. Delegation requires identifying the right person for the job, someone whose skills and potential align with the responsibility. It also means providing clear instructions and measurable outcomes so that expectations are unambiguous. Delegation is also a process of trust building. When you entrust team members with meaningful responsibilities, you signal your confidence in their abilities. This trust motivates them to perform at their best and fosters a sense of ownership and accountability. However, trust doesn't mean abdication. You must remain available to provide guidance, feedback, and support as needed, ensuring that delegated tasks are executed effectively without micromanaging. The goal is to create an environment where people feel empowered to take initiative while knowing they have the resources and backing to succeed. Effective delegation is not without challenges. It requires patience, as the initial time investment to train and guide team members may feel slower than doing the task yourself. However, this upfront effort pays dividends as your team becomes more capable and self-sufficient. The ability to delegate well allows you to focus on strategic decisions and long-term goals, multiplying your impact and enabling your organization to grow sustainably. To delegate effectively, you must embrace the mindset that leadership is about empowering others. Focus on developing your team's capabilities and aligning their growth with the organization's success. Define clear expectations, provide the necessary tools and support, and then step back to let them succeed. The question is never just whether you can do the task, it's whether your time is best spent doing it. When you delegate with purpose and trust, you don't just accomplish more, you build a stronger, more capable team. Lesson 3. Prioritize through critical decisions. High-output managers succeed because they are ruthless about setting priorities. Andy Grove emphasizes that your time and attention are your most valuable resources, and how you allocate them determines the impact of your leadership. He introduces the concept of the managerial leverage equation, which underscores that every decision you make should maximize your influence and drive outcomes that matter most. Grove illustrates this principle with a case study of Intel's pivotal decision during the microprocessor revolution. At a critical juncture, Intel had to decide whether to commit fully to microprocessors or continue splitting focus across other markets. This decision was fraught with uncertainty and risk. But Grove understood that making the right choice was essential to Intel's future. By focusing on what would drive the greatest long-term impact, Intel emerged as a leader in the industry, cementing its dominance for decades to come. Grove's approach to prioritization aligns closely with the strategic thinking outlined in Good Strategy, Bad Strategy by Richard Rumelt. Rumelt argues that effective strategy is not about having a long list of goals, but about making clear, deliberate choices that address critical challenges and seize key opportunities. This requires the ability to weigh trade-offs and commit to a path, even when uncertainty looms. Both Grove and Rumelt highlight that the essence of good decision-making lies in clarity of focus. Spreading yourself too thin or chasing distractions dilutes your impact and risks missing the opportunities that truly matter. The process of prioritization demands that you identify what moves the needle and let go of what doesn't. Every decision carries trade-offs, and the temptation to avoid tough choices can lead to stagnation. Grove stresses that critical decisions often feel uncomfortable because they force you to commit, sometimes without all the information you'd like to have. However, delaying or avoiding these decisions undermines your leadership and the organization's progress. Leadership is about making choices that align resources, energy, and attention with what matters most, even when those choices are difficult. Consider the example of Apple under Steve Jobs. When Jobs returned to Apple in 1997, the company was struggling, burdened with a sprawling product line and a lack of focus. One of Jobs' first moves was to ruthlessly cut Apple's offerings, narrowing the focus to just 4 key product lines. This decision wasn't popular, but it was necessary. By prioritizing quality over quantity and directing resources toward what Apple could do exceptionally well. Jobs set the stage for a series of groundbreaking innovations, including the iMac, iPod, and eventually the iPhone. Apple's resurgence was a direct result of disciplined prioritization and the willingness to make hard but necessary decisions. Grove advises that as a manager, you must identify the 2 or 3 priorities that matter most each day and channel all your energy into achieving them. This doesn't mean ignoring everything else, but recognizing that not all tasks carry equal weight. By focusing on high-leverage activities, those that amplify your team's efforts and drive significant outcomes, you ensure that your time is spent where it has the greatest impact. This requires cutting distractions and saying no to opportunities that don't align with your objectives. It also demands the courage to confront trade-offs and accept that doing one thing well often means letting go of others. Effective prioritization is not just a skill, but a discipline. It requires self-awareness, the ability to differentiate between urgent and important, and the willingness to make tough calls. You must train yourself to see the bigger picture, aligning your decisions with long-term goals rather than immediate gratification. As Grove emphasizes, the role of a high-output manager is not to do everything, but to ensure that the right things get done. This means empowering your team to take on tasks that don't require your direct involvement, freeing you to focus on what only you can address. To lead effectively, commit to the discipline of prioritization. Each day, identify the 2 or 3 decisions or actions that will drive the greatest impact, and devote yourself to executing them with focus and determination. Let go of the distractions and lesser priorities that pull you away from your mission. Leadership is about clarity, courage, and the ability to channel your energy into what truly matters. When you prioritize effectively, you amplify your influence and create lasting results. Lesson 4. Leverage feedback loops. Feedback is the lifeblood of high-performance teams, and Andy Grove emphasizes that managers must create rapid and honest feedback loops to foster growth and improve outcomes. Without feedback, processes stagnate, products fail to evolve, and people lose their sense of direction. Grove's leadership at Intel was rooted in a culture of continuous improvement, driven by consistent and transparent feedback. He recalls implementing quarterly reviews at Intel as a way to address performance issues before they could escalate into crises. These reviews weren't just about identifying problems, they were about building trust, refining processes, and keeping teams aligned with the company's strategic goals. Feedback, in Grove's eyes, was not a tool for criticism, but an essential mechanism for growth. This approach aligns with the principles outlined in Radical Candor by Kim Scott, where direct, compassionate feedback fosters trust and accountability. Scott argues that effective feedback strikes a balance between caring personally and challenging directly. When team members feel safe to share concerns, ask questions, and provide input, they are more likely to engage deeply with their work and contribute innovative ideas. Grove's feedback culture mirrored this philosophy by ensuring that every team member felt heard, valued, and challenged to grow. Honest dialogue was not only encouraged, but expected, creating an environment where people could thrive without fear of retribution. Feedback loops also play a critical role in the iterative improvement of products and processes. Consider Toyota's Kaizen philosophy, a cornerstone of its production system. Kaizen, meaning continuous improvement, relies on feedback from every level of the organization to identify inefficiencies and implement changes. Workers on the assembly line are empowered to stop production if they notice a defect, ensuring that problems are addressed immediately rather than being passed down the line. This relentless focus on feedback and improvement has made Toyota synonymous with quality and efficiency. Like Grove's quarterly reviews, Toyota's feedback loops are structured, consistent, and designed to drive measurable results. To leverage feedback effectively, you must set clear standards and measure outcomes. Without benchmarks, feedback becomes vague and unproductive. Grove emphasized that feedback must always serve a purpose. It should identify what's working, what isn't, and what needs to change. For this to happen, managers must create an open dialogue where team members feel safe sharing their concerns and ideas. Psychological safety is critical. When people fear judgment or retaliation, they withhold valuable insights that could improve performance. Your role as a manager is to cultivate an environment where feedback is seen as a tool for progress, not punishment. Regular check-ins and structured reviews are essential for maintaining alignment and focus. Feedback should not be reserved for annual performance evaluations or crisis moments. It should be an ongoing rhythm that keeps everyone on track. Grove's quarterly reviews were not only about evaluating past performance, but also about setting future goals and addressing potential challenges proactively. This regular cadence ensured that teams remained aligned with Intel's objectives while continuously improving their methods and results. The power of feedback loops extends beyond organizational processes to personal development. Consider the example of athletes who rely on coaches for immediate feedback to refine their performance. Every successful athlete, from Serena Williams to Michael Jordan, credits much of their success to the feedback they received from their coaches, who provided both praise and constructive criticism. In the same way, feedback within teams should highlight strengths while identifying areas for improvement. This dual focus builds confidence while driving growth. To leverage feedback loops effectively, commit to creating a culture of transparency and continuous improvement. Set clear standards, measure results, and encourage open dialogue. Make feedback a regular and structured part of your team's workflow, not an afterthought. Focus on growth, not blame, and ensure that feedback is actionable and specific. When you build trust through honest communication and align everyone with shared goals, you unlock the potential for extraordinary performance. Feedback is not just a mechanism for improvement. It is the foundation of a thriving team. Lesson 5. Perfect your meetings. Meetings are either a powerful tool for coordination or a colossal waste of time. Andy Grove emphasizes that as a manager, your responsibility is to ensure every meeting drives value by being intentional, focused, and efficient. He outlines a practical framework that begins with clear agendas and specific outcomes, ensuring that meetings become strategic tools for alignment, problem-solving, and goal reinforcement. Without structure, meetings devolve into unproductive discussions that drain energy and waste valuable time. With structure, they can propel your team forward and clarify the path to success. Grove draws on his experience at Intel, where meetings were run with military precision. Staff meetings were carefully planned, and every attendee understood their role before they even stepped into the room. This clarity of purpose ensured that discussions stayed on track and actionable takeaways were clearly defined. Meetings weren't an opportunity to talk aimlessly, but a forum for making decisions, resolving issues, and aligning efforts. This disciplined approach to meetings didn't just respect participants' time, it amplified their productivity by ensuring every minute was spent moving the team closer to its goals. This practice aligns with the lessons in Death by Meeting by Patrick Lencioni, which highlights how poorly run meetings are one of the greatest drains on organizational energy. Lencioni argues that meetings should be intentionally structured to create engagement and deliver outcomes. Rather than avoiding meetings altogether, leaders must embrace their potential as a strategic asset, designing them to address specific needs. Whether it's a quick tactical check-in, a problem-solving session, or a long-term strategy discussion, every meeting should have a clear purpose and a defined format. Lencioni's philosophy mirrors Grove's. Structure transforms meetings from a time sink into a tool for progress. To perfect your meetings, you must start with preparation. Never hold a meeting without knowing its purpose. Ask yourself why the meeting is necessary, what you want to achieve, and who needs to be involved. Create a detailed agenda that outlines the topics to be covered and the outcomes expected. Share this agenda with participants in advance so they can come prepared. When people know what to expect and how they can contribute, meetings become more focused and effective. Once the meeting begins, maintain discipline. As Grove stresses, your role as a leader is to guide the discussion, keeping it on track and ensuring it delivers value. Avoid tangents and side conversations that derail the agenda. Encourage participation from everyone, but keep the focus on actionable outcomes. If a discussion veers off course, redirect it back to the core purpose of the meeting. Your ability to manage time and facilitate meaningful dialogue is crucial to ensuring that meetings remain productive. Meetings must always conclude with clarity. Every attendee should leave knowing exactly what the next steps are, who is responsible for them, and when they need to be completed. Grove emphasizes that accountability is critical. Without it, even the most productive discussions can lead to inaction. Assign tasks, set deadlines, and follow up to ensure that commitments are met. This creates a culture of ownership and reinforces the value of the meeting itself. Consider the example of Amazon, where Jeff Bezos implemented a unique meeting strategy to improve efficiency and decision-making. At Amazon, meetings begin with participants reading a detailed memo that outlines the context, goals, and proposed solutions. This ensures that everyone starts the discussion on the same page and eliminates the need for lengthy explanations. By focusing on written clarity and preparation, Amazon's meetings prioritize substance over formality, aligning with Grove's principle of respecting participants' time while maximizing impact. Perfecting your meetings requires discipline, clarity, and a commitment to delivering value. Respect your team's time by ensuring that every meeting has a purpose, a structure, and a set of actionable outcomes. Align on priorities, resolve issues, and reinforce goals, but never allow meetings to become an aimless drain on resources. When you run meetings with intention and precision, they become a powerful tool for driving results and maintaining momentum. Lesson 6. Embrace managerial metrics. Data is not optional. It is the foundation of effective management. Andy Grove emphasizes that to lead successfully, you must establish and rely on key performance indicators, KPIs, that reflect the health and productivity of your team. Metrics provide clarity, accountability, and insight into the areas that require attention, enabling you to make informed decisions rather than relying on gut instinct. Grove shares an example from Intel, where the company developed precise metrics to track manufacturing efficiency. These KPIs included variables like production costs, delivery timelines, and error rates, all of which directly influenced Intel's ability to compete in the tech industry. By focusing on measurable outcomes, Intel not only optimized its processes, but also created a culture of accountability and continuous improvement. This approach mirrors Peter Drucker's timeless principle from The Effective Executive: what gets measured gets managed. Drucker argues that effective management begins with identifying what truly matters and tracking it consistently. Grove's philosophy aligns with this idea, as he stresses that metrics are not just tools for measurement, they are instruments for driving meaningful change. Without clear data, you are navigating blindly, unable to distinguish between what is working and what needs improvement. Metrics illuminate the path forward, providing the evidence needed to make decisions that align with your goals. Metrics are most powerful when they are thoughtfully chosen and consistently reviewed. Not all data is valuable, and Grove cautions against being overwhelmed by irrelevant numbers. Instead, you must define metrics that directly correlate with your objectives. For Intel, this meant identifying the variables that had the greatest impact on manufacturing efficiency and focusing on those relentlessly. By narrowing the scope to what truly mattered, Intel was able to drive improvements without being distracted by peripheral issues. This disciplined approach to metrics allowed the company to scale effectively while maintaining high standards of quality. The importance of metrics extends beyond manufacturing. Consider how Google uses data to drive decisions across all aspects of its business. From tracking user engagement on its platforms to analyzing employee productivity, Google relies on data to refine its strategies and maintain its competitive edge. One of Google's most celebrated practices is its use of OKRs, objectives and key results, a framework that aligns individual, team, and organizational goals through measurable outcomes. By tying objectives to specific, quantifiable results, Google ensures that its teams remain focused and accountable, echoing Grove's emphasis on the power of metrics to align efforts and deliver results. However, Grove also warns that metrics alone are not enough. Numbers don't lie, but they also don't speak for themselves. You must interpret the data wisely, understanding its context and implications. Misinterpreted metrics can lead to misguided decisions, so it is critical to approach them with both analytical rigor and a deep understanding of the larger picture. Data should be a starting point for inquiry, not the final answer. Ask why the numbers look the way they do. Explore the factors influencing them, and use that understanding to craft strategies that address root causes rather than symptoms. Establishing effective metrics also requires cultural buy-in. Your team must understand the importance of the data you track and how it connects to their work. When metrics are seen as tools for growth rather than instruments of surveillance, they become powerful motivators. Encourage transparency in how metrics are shared and used, creating a sense of shared ownership and accountability. This builds trust and ensures that metrics serve their purpose, driving performance, fostering alignment, and promoting a culture of continuous improvement. To embrace managerial metrics, start by defining what success looks like for your team. Identify the key indicators that reflect progress toward your goals, and ensure they are specific, measurable, and actionable. Review these metrics consistently, using them to guide your decisions and refine your strategies. Remember that metrics are not just about tracking progress. They are about enabling progress. Interpret them with care, communicate them with clarity, and act on them with purpose. Numbers provide the framework for effective management, but it is your ability to turn insights into action that ultimately drives success. Lesson 7. Train for resilience. The modern workplace demands adaptability and resilience, and Andy Grove emphasizes that your role as a leader is to cultivate these traits in yourself and your team. Resilience isn't just about surviving adversity, it's about using challenges as opportunities to grow stronger. Grove recounts Intel's response to a massive competitive threat from Japanese semiconductor manufacturers in the 1980s. At the time, Japan's dominance in memory chips posed a critical threat to Intel's future. Instead of clinging to its established market, Intel made the bold decision to pivot toward microprocessors, a move that required unified leadership, swift adaptation, and a culture of resilience. This shift not only saved Intel, but also positioned it as a global leader in the tech industry, showcasing the power of resilience in action. This principle aligns with Nassim Nicholas Taleb's concept of anti-fragility, introduced in Anti-Fragile, Things That Gain from Disorder. Taleb argues that systems and individuals don't just endure stress and uncertainty, they can thrive because of it. Anti-fragile entities grow stronger when exposed to volatility and challenges, as they learn, adapt, and innovate in response. Grove's leadership at Intel embodied this mindset, transforming existential threats into opportunities for reinvention. The lesson is clear. Resilience isn't about avoiding hardship, but about embracing it as a catalyst for progress. Building a resilient team begins with fostering a culture that embraces change and invests in continuous learning. Change is inevitable, and teams that resist it are doomed to stagnate. Grove stresses that resilience requires more than adaptability. It demands a proactive mindset that sees obstacles as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable threats. To achieve this, you must encourage your team to experiment, take calculated risks, and view failure as a natural part of the learning process. When people feel safe to innovate and recover from setbacks, they build the confidence and agility needed to thrive in uncertainty. The value of resilience is evident in companies like Netflix. In its early years, Netflix faced declining DVD rentals as streaming technology began to emerge. Instead of resisting the shift, Netflix embraced it, completely reinventing its business model to focus on streaming content. This move required massive changes in technology, partnerships, and strategy, but it ultimately positioned Netflix as a global leader in entertainment. By seeing disruption as an opportunity rather than a threat, Netflix demonstrated the power of resilience in maintaining relevance and achieving long-term success. Resilience is not an innate trait. It is a skill developed through deliberate practice and mindset. Start by modeling resilience yourself. Show your team that you are willing to confront challenges head-on, adapt to new realities, and remain optimistic in the face of setbacks. Your attitude sets the tone for how others respond to adversity. Encourage a growth mindset by framing challenges as opportunities to learn and improve. When obstacles arise, ask your team, what can we learn from this? How can we adapt and grow? Resilience also requires investing in the continuous development of your team. Provide training that enhances their skills, equips them to handle uncertainty, and prepares them for future challenges. Encourage cross-functional learning, so team members can expand their capabilities and contribute in new ways. A team that continually learns is not only more adaptable, but also more innovative and engaged. Creating a culture of resilience means celebrating successes while acknowledging and analyzing failures. Grove believed that setbacks should be examined not as defeats, but as valuable data points that inform future decisions. By fostering an environment where people feel safe to take risks and recover from mistakes, you empower them to act boldly and confidently. To train for resilience, focus on building a mindset that thrives on change. Push yourself and your team to view challenges as opportunities for growth and innovation. Invest in learning, embrace failure as a teacher, and foster a culture that values adaptability and proactive problem-solving. Resilience isn't just a reaction to adversity. It's a way of thinking and working that prepares you to succeed in any environment. When you build resilience into your team, you create a foundation for sustained growth and success, no matter what the future holds. Lesson 8. Scale yourself. High output management ultimately boils down to scaling your influence. Andy Grove emphasizes that your role as a manager is not to do everything yourself, but to expand your impact by empowering others. He likens a manager's role to that of a teacher, where your primary output isn't the work you complete, but the knowledge, skills, and confidence you instill in your team. Grove recounts mentoring his leadership team at Intel, focusing on their growth and development. By investing in their capabilities, he didn't just improve individual performance, he multiplied the success of the entire company. This approach allowed Intel to thrive in a highly competitive industry, with a leadership team capable of driving innovation and executing the company's vision independently. This principle mirrors the philosophy in Multipliers by Liz Wiseman, which explores how great leaders amplify the intelligence and abilities of those around them. Wiseman distinguishes between multipliers, who unlock the potential of their teams, and diminishers, who stifle creativity by hoarding control or micromanaging. Grove's leadership style exemplifies the multiplier approach. By empowering others to take ownership and excel, he created a culture of accountability, innovation, and continuous improvement. His success wasn't defined by what he achieved alone, but by the impact he had through others. To scale yourself effectively, you must commit to constantly learning and sharing your expertise. Grove understood that his role wasn't just to manage tasks, but to equip his team with the tools and knowledge they needed to succeed. This required a mindset of continuous development, not just for himself, but for his team. He prioritized teaching, mentoring, and coaching as central aspects of his role, knowing that the time spent developing others would pay dividends in their contributions to the organization. This commitment to growth is what allowed him to lead Intel through transformative periods, from the microprocessor revolution to the challenges of global competition. Consider the example of Bill Campbell, known as the coach of Silicon Valley. Campbell's influence wasn't rooted in technical expertise or groundbreaking inventions. It came from his ability to mentor leaders like Steve Jobs, Larry Page, and Jeff Bezos. His legacy wasn't in the tasks he completed, but in the leaders he shaped and the cultures he helped build. Like Grove, Campbell understood that scaling one's influence means prioritizing the growth of others and creating an environment where they can thrive. Scaling yourself also requires empowering your team to act independently. Grove emphasized the importance of delegation and trust, giving his team the freedom to make decisions and solve problems without constant oversight. This doesn't mean abandoning accountability. It means providing the structure, resources, and clarity needed for people to succeed on their own. When your team feels trusted and capable, they are more likely to take initiative, innovate, and deliver exceptional results. Your ability to scale yourself also depends on your willingness to inspire others to reach their full potential. This requires setting high standards, communicating a clear vision, and fostering a sense of purpose in the work. People perform best when they feel their efforts matter, and it's your job as a leader to ensure they understand the impact of their contributions. Celebrate successes, provide constructive feedback, and create a culture where continuous improvement is valued and rewarded. To scale yourself, focus on the legacy you leave through others. Your success as a manager is not defined by the tasks you complete or the decisions you make. It's defined by the people you develop, the leaders you inspire, and the systems you put in place to sustain growth. Commit to learning, teaching, and mentoring as central components of your leadership. Empower your team to take ownership, build their skills, and pursue excellence. When you invest in the growth of others, you don't just achieve more, you create a lasting impact that multiplies far beyond your own efforts. Conclusion. Andrew Grove's High Output Management is a masterclass in systems thinking, delegation, prioritization, and the relentless pursuit of measurable results. The book challenges you to rethink management as a discipline of creating and optimizing scalable processes that drive impact. Grove's lessons extend beyond business, offering timeless insights for anyone leading teams or striving for personal effectiveness. To deepen your understanding, explore related works like Measure What Matters by John Dewar or The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. Remember, the path to extraordinary results is paved with deliberate practice, clear focus, and an unwavering commitment to growth. Start today. Your ability to create value and inspire excellence is only limited by your willingness to embrace these lessons. The end.